Hey folks, it's Matt once again. Welcome back to another review, this time of the 1988 film Child's Play, which I don't really care for this cover. It's pretty lame, lazy cover. I do know there's a Blu-ray of this out by Stream Factory. No, I don't have it. No, I'm not getting it anytime soon. I thought I was going to get it, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Just long story. Fuck it. Either way, from 1988, Tom Holland directed this, one of his best films. And Tom Holland, pretty damn good director. I mean, he helped write Psycho 2, which is my favorite of the Psycho films, which I reviewed all those films on my channel. He did the original Fright Night, which hopefully, if everything works out, a newer review is up for that by now. And he directed Thinner, which I didn't really care for Thinner. He did Fatal Beauty before this, with Whoopi Goldberg, Sam Elliott, and Brad Dourif. And I enjoy Fatal Beauty. Although I think on Wikipedia there's like a little clip to a written interview, and Tom Holland, I guess, he's doesn't really care much for the film. It's too bad. I liked Fatal Beauty. But yeah, done Fright Night, Fatal Beauty, and then did this film. I think this is the reason why he did not do Fright Night 2, because to do Fright Night 2, he was busy working on this. Now, the idea, Don Mancini came with the story called Blood Buddy, where it was a kid, and I'm sorry, Don Mancini, I think his original story sucked, to be blunt. I'm not a big fan of Don Mancini. I mean, I appreciate what he did, came up with the initial story premise for this, but he directed Seed of Chucky and Curse of Chucky, and those are my two least favorite of the Chucky films. I don't care for those films. I don't like Seed of Chucky. I fucking hate Curse of Chucky, which I know people will be pissed off because that film gets a lot of praise for some reason, and I don't get it. And that's why I wanted to redo these films, because I reviewed like the first 5 in just one video, and then did a podcast with my friend Mike on Curse of Chucky, and those are still up, and everyone hated us for not liking Curse of Chucky, because that Curse of Chucky podcast I like 80 thumbs down, but it's still up, so I'll give it another chance. Probably still think it's a piece of shit, but I'll say right off the bat, I enjoyed the first 3 Child's Play films. Bride of Chucky, my enjoyment of that has gone down throughout the years. Seed of Chucky, I think the first time I saw it, I could kind of deal with it, but that's gone down as well. Curse of Chucky, I fucking hate. I'll get into why when I get to that video, but this is about the first one. And Don Mancini, granted, I don't care for his directing in those last 2, and I don't care for his idea of, oh, have a doll where it could actually bleed, and then kids would have to buy Band-Aids. And I'm like, that's a stupid idea. I know it's a fantasy, but even in a fantasy, no company would make a fucking doll that bleeds. They'll make one that pisses, but they're not going to make a doll that fucking bleeds. Even then, when you go into a fantastical idea like a killer doll, there are certain leaps of logic people will go with. Having a doll that bleeds on purpose, that a company releases, I don't know, I know it sounds stupid, but I think that's a shitty idea. And that pretty much the kid cuts it and puts the blood with Chucky's blood, which I think at that point wasn't Chucky, I don't know what name it was. And then it was the kid's id, like the people that the kid didn't like or got pissed off at. Chucky kind of did it for the kid. That little bit kind of reminds me of Monty Shines, where the Monty had a little link with the lead guy and the lead guy's rage, and the Monty was doing it for him. And, that was done well in Monty Shines. That's one of my favorite George Romero films. And I reviewed Monty Shines. I just don't think it would have worked in this. I like the way they did it here. And funny enough, on this DVD, there's no stuff with Tom Holland. It's like they try to push him away from having credit for this film because he's nowhere on this features on this older DVD. On the newer one, there's a, I guess the Blu-ray has a new commentary with Tom Holland, but again, he's nowhere on this, which is, from what I understand, there was friction between him and the producer David Kirshner, who is butt buddies with Don Mancini. I don't know what the whole deal is. But anyway, Don Mancini wrote script, story, screenplay. Then you got John Lafia and Tom Holland working it in there. And I think it was Tom Holland who came up with the idea of having Charles Lee Ray. And he had worked with Brad Dourif in Fatal Beauty before this, so Brad Dourif was able to come in and play at least the role of the killer at the beginning of the film, who Chris Sarandon, who also worked with Tom Holland before in Fright Night. So Tom Holland, there's a big reason why this film is successful. He's able to bring in Chris Sarandon and Brad Dourif. I think without Tom Holland, you would not have Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. Let alone at the beginning is Charles Lee Ray. Which I know Charles is like for Charles Manson, I believe. Lee for Lee Harvey Oswald. And Ray, I think the guy who shot Kennedy. Could be wrong. No, not Kennedy. That's Lee Harvey Oswald. Martin Luther King. That's what I meant. Lee Harvey Oswald is Kennedy. I think Ray is the guy who shot Martin Luther King. I could be wrong on that. But I mean, getting to the film itself, I think what makes the film work, it's just very well done. The music by Joan Rossetti. He did a crappy job on Poltergeist 3, which came around the same time, which is another series I've reviewed on this channel. All the Poltergeist films, including the shitty remake. But yeah, Poltergeist 3 wasn't much better in that score. But this is a much better score than Joe Rossetti did for Poltergeist 3. I don't know what the deal is. But this, especially I like the end credits music. Really good score. Kevin Yeager's work on the puppetry and animatronics. Pretty, I know people would say it'd be too big and bold to say revolutionary at the time, but you just say that. Really helped make Chucky come to life. Brad Dourif was the perfect choice for the voice of Chucky. I know one story, it was going to be a female. I remember hearing it was the woman who is the stalker and played Misty for me who was going to be the voice of Chucky. I could absolutely be wrong. That could be total bullshit. But I know it was a female. And that didn't work, so they got Brad Dourif. Because like, they don't have Brad Dourif as the killer, but then another voice is Chucky, and they're like, fuck it, have Brad Dourif do it. Which was a good choice. The rest of the cast, Catherine Hicks, who had done Star Trek 4, she did a great job as the mom. Very likable, very easy to root for. Alex Vincent as the kid, Andy Barkley. He was perfect. He was a sweetheart. When you have a kid in a horror film, it's a gamble because he could be very annoying, very irritating, very make you want to piss and vinegar, angry, shut the fuck up, kid. Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace is a perfect example of that. But Alex Vincent did a great job. He was a sweetheart of a kid. He was likable. You really felt bad. He went through a lot of shit for that character. And he was like 6, 7 years old when he did the film, and his character is about the same age. Just a real sweetheart, innocent child. I like Chris Sarandon as an actor. He was great as the detective. I believe the first name is Mike. And he was great in Fright Night. He was actually pretty good in Bordello Blood. Anytime Chris Sarandon pops up, it's nice. Unless it's the Fright Night remake where he just pops up to die from Colin Farrell. You want some brewskis, bro? Fucker. But Chris Sarandon, great to see him in the flick. And this film is pretty short. It's less than 90 minutes long. Watching it, I was surprised at how short this movie was. I was like, wow, it's, with the end credits, it's literally an hour and 27 minutes with the end credits. I really was surprised by that. I'm like, huh? I didn't, I forgot all about that. I'm like, I thought this was and it worked. It went at a good pace. It opens up with a bang. Chris Sarandon chasing down Brad Dourif, who's a strangler and a killer. And his partner leaves him behind and he gets shot, goes into this toy store, does some voodoo stuff on the doll. And this big, epic explosion of the toy store happens. And Brad Dourif's character is dead, but we realize later he uses voodoo to get into the doll, which this peddler grabs and later on sells it to Catherine Hicks, whose son is a fan of these good guy dolls, which has a cartoon and clothes and all sorts of merchandise. And he wants a buddy, kind of like, now at the time there was the Cabbage Patch dolls. There was, my buddy, if anyone remembers those. And the kid wanted one of those. The mom got it at a steal, and things go haywire after that. Again, it's hard to make a kid who's going to be in the lead role likable, but he was a total innocent, total sweetheart of a kid, not annoying at all. Tries to make his mom food, burns everything, fucks up, but he tried. That was a sweet little scene. Catherine Hicks has some good rapport with her kid, some nice chemistry. He's disappointed in the present, but he doesn't act bratty. To me, I never found him bratty, which again is hard to do. And I give credit to Tom Holland and such for using that well. For because it'd be real easy if a kid doesn't get a present, for example. It's really easy to make the kid bratty or whiny, and that doesn't happen. And the mom and her friend, who is Aunt Maggie to this little kid Andy, able to get this good guy doll for him. And that's where, again, shit hits the fan. The Aunt Maggie gets killed by being hit and goes out the window. And the cops are there, including Chris Sarandon, and they see these little sneakers that were on the table covered with powder. Like, who else could have killed this person? Granted, it's still a little weird to go to the fact that a 6-year-old kid, would have killed someone, but I mean, I guess if being a killer doll would be, more impossible. I guess I'm just thinking, like any other movie, that would be the impossible thing. Oh, it could not have been a 6-year-old kid. You're crazy. But then in this, I mean, they've done movies like that where a little kid has done shit. It's like, oh, it's not the kid. And then they think it is the kid, but no, it's something else. And that's kind of ballsy when you think about it. It's a kid who gets framed for murder, gets put into an institution. This 6, 7-year-old kid, and then this doll wants to kill him, and he has to defend himself. And again, this is not a teenager. This is a 6-year-old kid framed for murder, institution, chased and knocked out by a bat from a fucking doll. You wouldn't see that nowadays. You would not see that nowadays. That's even back then in 1988. That was ballsy to do, and it gives a little bit more. It works a bit with the suspense of it. It works a bit with the story of it. It makes you really feel bad for the lead kid. And again, Alex Vincent does a really good job with that. And the kid tries to do his best. He sees this powder on Chucky's sneakers and tries to tell her. Of course, she doesn't believe him, her being the mom. And then later on, she's trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Oh, Chucky said he was sent down from heaven by Daddy," which you feel sorry for the kid for that, and then ultimately he realizes that he's making his mom upset, so he's like, "I'm sorry, I'll stop making up stories." Which he's not, but again, you feel bad for the kid, and he's trying to do a nice thing, trying, hey, I'm upsetting my mom, I better stop it. Even though he's telling the truth, and that was sweet. It makes the kid that more likable and that more, you know, feeling sorry for. Because we, as the audience, knows what the hell's going on. And it doesn't make the kid bratty or annoying or irritating at all. And then you have that scene where the kid is taken on a bus to ultimately where Chucky's Brad Dourif's former partner is. Chucky does some stuff and blows up the house. Nice explosion, practical effect. And that's ultimately, especially where the kid is framed by the doll, put in the institution. And then the movie kind of shifts into more of Catherine Hicks' story and a bit of Chris Sarandon's story. It's like the first half of the film is kind of Andy's story, and then it shifts to Catherine Hicks, and she finds out that the doll this whole time had no batteries, and then you have that scene whenever they talk about this film, they put on lists. They talk about 80s horror films. Anytime they do a program on TV, this is usually the scene they do. When Chucky's head turns, it's like, "I'm Chucky, want to play?" She drops it, rolls down under the couch as she threatens to burn him, and Brad Dourif really sells the voice here. "You stupid bitch, you filthy slut." And Catherine Hicks gets bit on the arm by Chucky and runs off and tries to get to him. He escapes. She tries to tell Chris Sarandon. He doesn't believe her. And then you have an interesting way of doing a car chase where Chucky's strangling him and then trying to pretty much stick a knife up his ass. And he has to actually get his legs on above so the fucking knife doesn't go up his fucking chute. Go up the chute. And fucking flips over and he gets the gun, is able to shoot Chucky. That's a really well done action scene. Again, it's a different way to do a car chase. And I thought it was pretty well filmed and well edited. Damn. Camera. Push the camera all the way over. But, there we go. And then you see a little bit of Catherine Hicks at Charles Lee Ray's apartment and how especially he was into Voodoo. Now, this is a scene that's kind of weird when you think about it, because it's kind of an exposition scene to show that this guy who had taught him this voodoo stuff, he's able to tell him, hey, the more time you spend in that body, the more human you become. You need to find whoever you told your secret to first, do a chant, and the guy tries to stop him, and Chucky stops him. But granted, there's some good voice work by Brad Dourif and good effects by Kevin Yeager on the doll. But Chucky's able to find this voodoo doll. And granted, you're thinking, well, wait a minute. Where did that voodoo doll come from? I know Chucky says a line, you shouldn't tell your customers where you have this stuff. But why the hell would the guy have a voodoo doll of himself? If you have a voodoo doll of yourself, you're just screaming for like suicide or something. Maybe it was suicidal, I don't know. You're just screaming for someone to take that, and what if you just pop the head off with if a little kid got into it? I just that's the thing, when you bring in a voodoo doll, it's like, well, does Chucky if Chucky didn't make that, why the hell would the guy have a voodoo doll of himself? If Chucky could make it, why doesn't he do a voodoo doll on anybody? Or if he knows a little bit about it, why does he find out how to do this and just kill everybody with it? Kill Chris Sarandon, kill Catherine Hicks, with his voodoo dolls of them. Or again, if Chucky doesn't know how to make it, he just found it because he heard of it before. Again, why would the guy have a voodoo doll of himself? I don't. That's one bit I don't understand. It is a interesting way to kill someone. Breaks the guy's arm, breaks the guy's leg, and then stabs the doll, which kills him. But it just wants to say, wait, that doesn't, huh? But so that's one scene that's kind of, I mean, there's good animatronic work, and Brad Dourif does a good job voicing it. Just one of those scenes that makes me question, like, huh? And this kid, just all the stuff he goes through. He sees that Chucky's coming, and he's locked in this room, and no one believes him, and he's crying, knowing that Chucky's going to try to kill him. And Chucky is able to sneak into the room. Now, granted, I don't know why Chucky is ready to stab the kid. Granted, the kid tricks his ass. You tricked my ass. He tricks his ass, able to sneak out. But it looks like Chucky's ready to stab him. But it's a fake pillow and stuff on the bed. But I'm like, Chucky, why are you ready to stab the kid? You want to put a, get into his body. You can't do that if you stabbed him. So that's kind of weird if you think about it. Like, he's ready to stab, but I thought you were going to do the chant to put your soul in him. That's a little nitpick, I'll admit. That's a nitpick. But the kid's trying to do the best he can. This doctor finds him, and Chucky stabs him, puts this thing and fries him. It was an interesting way. I mean, guy's face gets darker and like blood out of the eyes and blood out of the mouth. Kind of a freaky way to kill someone. And the kid gets home and is being stalked. Chucky comes through from the chimney and knocks the kid out, does the chant. The mom and the cop get there. And you have a fun finale. Chris Sarandon doesn't get to do too much. Probably because of that, the kid and mom can take care of it, Chucky. But you get some fun stuff, mom is able to lock the Chucky in the chimney and the kid fries his ass. Good fire effect. I know the guy inside, sometimes it was a little person inside a suit. That's Ed Gale, I believe is the name. And some nice, stunt work, firework. And I think they just built a set that had a little bit bigger furniture for when Ed Gale was in a suit. And I thought they worked fine. I know some people get taken out of the movie when they say one goes from animatronic to a little person, but I was fine with it. It didn't bother me that much watching it again. And I love the look of the burned up Chucky, which is one eye, and sort of the way Tom Holland had the camera, where it's like on his legs and you're slowly stalking forward, and the mom just consistently trying to shoot Chucky and blowing up pieces of the arm and head off. And even then, it's not dead, and Chris Ren, his partner, gets there, tries to choke the shit out of him, and Chris Ren is able to shoot Chucky in the heart. And yeah, I thought the last shot was great, where the door is about ready to close, and you just see Andy's face. And like I said, Joe Renzetti did a really good job with the score on the film. And to make a killer doll movie, was I ever scared of these movies? No, I was never scared of Child's Play films, including this one. But I found it entertaining. I thought it was well done. Of all the killer doll films, I think this is... I really like the second one too, so this and the second one I think are the best ones, deal with killer dolls. Because it's a concept that's hard to... It's hard to get into because you're thinking, it's just a little doll, why don't you just kick it through a field goal, why don't you just punch it, why don't you just tear its head off, shove it up its own ass. It's just a doll. But you either go with it or you don't. I went with it, and I thought you did a good cast. Catherine Hicks, Chris Sarandon. You have a great voice for Chucky, Brad Dourif, who really brings the character to life. You have really solid effects by Kevin Yeager. You have a very fitting score by Joe Renzetti. The music works very well. It had a bit of a budget behind it. Did some explosions. The toy store explosion, the building blowing up when Chucky's partner is killed. And, the car chase scenes. You get little action set pieces. If you're going into this for body count, you're not going to get much. I mean, at all. But this wasn't really about body count. This was really about the acting, decent enough story, short enough that it wasn't boring. And yeah, Chucky became an icon after this, which makes sense. And yeah, this is a time when they used to be called Child's Play. Now it's Chucky this, Chucky that. But yeah, I like the title Child's Play. And yeah, I will get into this more with the sequels, but to me, the first three films are Child's Play to me. I know a lot of people hate the third one. I like it. I think it's a bit underrated. I like 1 and 2 more, but I think Child's Play 3 is a bit underrated. It's not perfect. It was rushed, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as people think it is. I think it's a pretty solid follow-up to the second movie. And I know MGM, some guy who recently bought the company or became head of the company, they were pissed off at Child's Play and they said, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to make more family-friendly movies. Thus, they sold the rights to Universal, and that's why Universal did Child's Play 2 and 3 and not, where is the fucking, oh, MGM and United Artists. But yeah, really enjoyed Child's Play. It's definitely an 80s classic. And thanks for watching. And we will see you for, to me, a very good sequel, Child's Play 2. See you in a bit.